Last time, we're in the mood of reading towards the end of mitzvah Lamed Gimel, the mitzvah Levisha Bigdi Kehuna, mitzvah Aseh. So let's just pick up and read this the text of the Rambam and try to explain it. Ukesheyavoid kohen bipochos me'abegodim shehem miyuchadim ba'avodah hahi or b'yos mehem avodas psula. If a kohen wears more than required begodim or less than that, the avodah is possible. There are two things. There are two dinim. The avodah is possible, and there's a chiyuv misdei shamayim. V'chayiv im zeh or chayiv im kach. Rotzaloyma mechuse begodim she'avad is chayiv v'chayiv im zeh im kach misdei shamayim. Rotzaloyma mechuse begodim she'avad. V'chein Monu b'gmor Sanhedrin, Pegimul Amar Aleph, B'chlal Mechuyove Misa B'dei Shamayim. Zechim Misa B'Shamayim for Mechusa Begodim. Then he says, V'loi bo b'zeh kosev b'beil, which is an amazing thing, because there's a pasuk in the Torah in Shmos Chav Ches Mem Gimel, v'hoy al Aaron v'Arbona b'voyim el Oel Moed or b'gishtum el HaMizbeach l'shoris b'kodesh v'yisu ovoin v'meisu chukas olam lo'il l'zar l'achra. And the Ram says there's no pasuk beferish. That's there is a pasuk beferish, whatever it is. And he says ubo beferish and kilu awo bo akosu. Excuse me. Lo yeh b'zeh kosu b'beil. There's no mefurish pasuk. Or he says bebei or beferish. Lo bo in kapach it's beferish. Ibn Iyu v'loi bo bezeh kosuv avo bo hakosuv. Avo v'loi bo b'zeh kosuv, avo bo hakosuv, bizman shebigdeim aleim v'chogalto. Oh, avo bo hakosuv v'chogalto oisom avneit v'hoyiso lehem kehuna. O bo b'perish, there's a pirish b'kumo. Bisman she bigdeim aleim kunasam aleim, ain't bigdeim aleim, ain't kunasam aleim. V'hoyu v'havu luhu zorim, v'nei levaya in loisaseh ayin dalid kizah sheshimesh b'misa. So this is what we left off last week. This is a very, very odd thing, to say the least, because l'cheira we're talking about a mitzvah say of Levisha's begodim. So if there's a chimis of the shamayim for mechusa begodim per se, so then you say that the chimisa is for the isa say, and there's a raydoch that there's an aseh or something like that. But that's not what we're saying over here. The chiyuv misa is because of zarus. So why in the world is the Ram quoting this? And then we have the other question of what's going on b'chlal. The Ram says there's no meferish pasuk. There is mefurish pasuk. And the truth is, it's very, I don't know exactly how to say it. It's this is central to the whole issue. Because if you say there is no Fusha Pasuk, and you quote the Pasuk of in Shmos of V'hoya Aaron ve'Abono b'voyim Elohim moed or b'gishel mizbeach l'shoyes bakul l'yisrael of chet v'meisus l'chera v'chim misel shemayis because of the Aseh, and then everything would have been better, and you wouldn't have had to make this roundabout thing. We have to understand how you prove anything. So because the limud is that a kohen who is oivei without begodim is a zar, and the chimis shemayim is a zarus. Not because he's of the EQ mitzvah say or the Isa say, whichever way you want. So these are the problems. And both here and in Mishnah Torah, the Ram does not quote the Chiyuv Misa from the Pasuk of the Aseh, but from the it's an Isa Zarus. In a Bigdi, also in Mishnah Torah, and the Chiyuv, and there's only two Asin that there's a Chiyuv Misa Shamayim, and the lack of Kiddush Yadayim V'Aglayim, and Kiddush Yadayim V'Aglayim, and well, it's Kovish Nuvos or over Divrei Novi, whatever, or over Divrei Atzmoi, over Divrei Chaveroi. That's where there's an Aseh with the Chiyuv Misa, and the Ram doesn't quote this because the Chiyuv Misa is not because of the Aseh of Levish's Bigdi Kuna, because of the Isa Zavis. This issue of what happened to the Mefusha Pasuk in the Torah, Tosis and Yuma asked this question, the Hammer Beis. They were Masal Hovim Midrasayim, and the Rimi Alliance is Metaretz, that the Chimis of Shemayim is only on the Oivei B'li Michnasayim. And it's not because the pasuk is told Michnasayim, and it's nothing to do with the other begodim, and the drasha because much of B'gdi and Koras Aleim is as far as the other begodim are concerned. But the Ram doesn't quote it at all in the Chiyuv Misa. We don't know where there's a refuah pasuk in the Torah. We don't know what the Ram does with it. Yuchel Pearl discusses these issues in Minyan Ayin Aleph Ho'inchin in the Psicha. Okay, Beseder, but this is a problem. But see, my issue is not really, the problem is not that, but once the Rambam, the premise that the Rambam has, once you take that premise, you accept that premise, that the Chiyuv Misa is because of Lav, so, so Beseder. But what does it do with me in mitzvahs? Why is the Rambam quoting it over here? The Chiyuv Misa is because of a Lav, and here we're talking about the Aseh. So here the following. It could be, if you recall, we mentioned it last week, that the Rambam in the Buchim says that the Levish's Begodim are l'chova the Seferis of the Mikdash. And that's l'chova the Seferis. So you could have said that it's covered on Mikdash. The mitzvah is to wear them in the Mikdash, but then there's nothing to do with Avodah. And maybe you don't have to wear the bigdi kehuna b'shas Avodah. So the Bahag, we said that it's like a hechsher mitzvah Avodah. But maybe according to the Rambam, it could have had nothing to do with Avodah. So the Rambam says, you see for the Yisa Zarus, there's a mitzvah levishas bigdi kehuna, and whenever you're being obeyed, because it could the chiyuv zarus is because of the ikiyum mitzvah, and the proof is the chiyuv zarus because the ikiyum mitzvah. So memela, you know from the Isa zarus there's a mitzvah to wear it b'shas avodah, and not b'shas avodah, but not and to negate the other option that the mitzvah is to wear it only shloi b'shas avodah and l'chover hamikdash. Because if the mitzvah would not have been b'shas avodah, then you could not declare him a zal for not having begun the b'shas avodah. And this, the Rambam then is going back to his statement before. He says, the mitzvah is to wear it b'shas avodah. That's the mitzvah is. So he's proving that by the fact that the zalus, if he doesn't wear the begotten b'shas avodah. Now, what he says over here, Obor Ferish, Bizman Shebigdeim Aleim, Kunasim Aleim, Ein Bigdeim Aleim, Ein Kunasim Aleim, Vavuluzolem, Vihine Nevayer, Kizar Shishimish Bemisa, and that's in Ayin Dalet, he says, he, she, his here, Hazar me'avoid b'mikdash. With Soni bi'omri zar, kol mi shenizera aren. So, v'hu amro yis'ale, the zar lo yikov aleichem. Ubei akos yo'ived al oiva lav ze chai misa yishamayim. V'om yis'ale, v'azor kov yumos. So, l'chir, it's an amazing thing. Because of this hekesh, bizman shebigdeim aleim, for galte oisom avneit, v'hoiselem kunas, hoiselem kuna, bizman shebigdeim aleim, kunosem aleim, ein bigdeim aleim, because ki'ilu that he's not zera aren, as far as Avik is concerned, if he's not wearing the begodim. Okay, next. Now, the Omru b'sifra, There's a Sefer in Parshas Sav, the Mechut the Miluim, Halacha Zayin. V'yosem alav es achoyshen, Parshas Zo, Limda l'shato. This parsha, which a priori is a parsha of Harasha, a parsha of Levishas Bigdi Kehuna for Miluyim of the Kohanim, and Chinuch of the Kohanim, for Yosem Olav, and it's talking about Aaron, Yosem Olav as a Choshen, Parsha Zu, Limda l'Shaita, Limda l'Deires. So Keilu, even though you look at the Parsha, and it seems a Parsha of Harasha, there is a mitzvah l'Deires. Limda l'Sherus Yom Yom, or l'Sherus Yom Kippurim. It's not only about whether it's a limited to a certain era of the Zman of the Miluyim, but it's the Deres, and it's also not limited to what happened in Miluyim, but it's daily and also Yom Kippurim, where they're wearing different begadim. B'chol Yom Mishamesh b'Bigdi Zav, v'Yom Kippurim b'Bigdi Lovon. And Ki'ilu is the in the Rambam's reference, the Sifra is Mechadish, that there's a mitzvah levisha not only on Big Day, Kohen Gadol from Ches Begodim, but the Dala Begodim, Big Day Love and Yom Kippurim. Ukfa Biaru, Besifra, in Achremo is a different Sifra, Parsha Hey, Tchilas Perich Ches, Halacha Yud, Shelevishas Begodim Elu, Mitzvah Aseh, V'omrom, Uminayin Shein Aaron Lovesh, Begodim Ligdulasoi, Elo Kimekayim Gzeras Melech, Kimekayim Gzeras Melech, Talmuloi Mavayas Kashet Tziva Hashem Es Moshe, Ploim Begodim Elu. Then he has another discussion. We'll see about that. But it means maybe it's Gzeras Mekloim Begodim Elu. V'Afa Pi Shiyu B'Tachos Hayofi Shehem Mizov Ushehem V'Shoam V'Yoshvei V'Zulosem Me'avonim Hayofos Lo Yichavein Bohem Hayofi Aval Kaim Atzivui Shetziva Hashem Yis'ala L'Moshe Levad. So here he's bringing a raya. The question is, this is his pshat in the Sifra, that he has to Elikimakayim Gzeres HaMelech She'enu Loivesh. That's what he means. L'Gudulasoi L'Shem Yoifi Elo Ki Makayim Gzeres HaMelech. So first of all, the Ram doesn't make a big deal about it here, but part of the raya, or maybe the whole raya, is in this word Gzeres HaMelech. As the Ram says in Shiur Shmini, that Gzeres Melech is a nickname, a kinui, that the Matiki Ashmua are made for mitzvah minyan ha-mitzvahs, for mitzvah minyan taryag. And he writes there the following: V'chein ha-chachomim kol mitzvah bein aseh Oy loisa say gzeras melech. Oh, the mitzvah is called gzeras melech. So the Sefer who uses that expression, it's very clear. So the chayr is in Eidos and Matiki Ashmur. The Levish is big dekun is a mitzvah nefredes and a minion, and it's not a hechsha avoda, not like the Bahag. It's based on the Rambam's postulate that the word gzeres melech means mitzvah. Well, maybe you might have imagined that you don't need it here because it says kasher sivo Hashem es Moshe. So what it means is that there's a mitzvah. Okay, first of all, we have no clue, and it's a kasha. How do you learn out Yom Big Day Lovin over here if all we're talking about is Miluyim? And Miluyim was a big day Zov, so maybe it's only big day Zov is a mitzvah. You could have, in other words, it's interesting. It's the assumption is there's certainly a mitzvah, the Ram is working, in Big Day Kohen Hedyot also. But the fact that you should mechaber l'shem gedula, maybe in Kohen Gadol you should have it. Maybe you can have a discussion that he can't have such a kavanah because the begodim is so beautiful, but the big day Kohen Hedyot is not so beautiful. In the Sefer. But both my Kohen Gadol and Kohen Hedyot is a mitzvah. But the chiddush is they shouldn't mechaber in any other kavanah, even though you could have said that it's a gedula. And that's in Kohen Gadol. And that's what he says. Kloima. Shbegodim elu. V'af al pi shiyu b'tachlis hayofi shehem mizov v'shoem v'yoshfei. It's only big the Kohen Gadol. Lo yechavim bohem hayofi, aber lekayim atzivui shetziva Hashem yisal leMoshe levad. That's all that he should have in mind. Okay. Next point. The pasuk that the Rambam quotes, the pasuk the Sefer quotes, "Vayas kasher tziva Hashem es Moshe." L'chira, the Sefer learns that it goes in the whole parsha. You see, there are two different things over here. The first, you have the whole cheshbon over here. There are two sifros. There's one sifra Miluyim, and it does mention the Bigdei Kohen Gadol. There we have no clue why the Miluyim should have a ribui in Bigdei Kohen Gadol. We don't understand what's going on. However, the second sifra, which is in Pashas Achrei Mos, which is the Pasha of Yom Kippurim, and from that, he's proving that there's a mitzvah Aseh, that you can assume that it also goes in Yom Kippur, because V'yas kasher tziva Hashem goes in the whole Pasha, and the Ram is saying it also goes in the Big Day Zav, and that's the Sifras is all going in Big Day Zav, and therefore you might have thought that you can wear the Shem Gedula, Kamash Malon, you can't. And to see, it's a very strange thing. It says, "V'yas kasher tziva Hashem es Moshe," it means Aaron did everything. And it's a very strange thing that Teres Kohanim is being deresh a whole discussion on the Levisha, which was only one prat, and Kilu, it focuses Kilu, that was the Shem Mitzvah. It's a very odd thing. I mean, how do you know that everything that he did was only Shem Mitzvah? Unless that's the assumption. Levisha's big Kehuna is only a prat in the whole Avodah Shem Kippurim. And the passion the pasuk is that Aaron did the whole Avodah Shem Kippurim. Kashetziv Hashem es Moshe, that it goes on the big Kehuna is an amazing shot in the Sefer. But that's not the Rambam's problem. That's the Sefer's problem. But the Rambam says once the Sefer says this, so we have all the answers. We know there's a mitzvah of Levisha's big Kehuna. It seems to be that the assumption is Sefer is a separate kavana that you're doing the mitzvah l'shma, l'shem mitzvah, not for gedula. And that's what Aaron did. He had such a kavana. So you would expect it. We don't know what this is, but whatever it is, the Ram should have called Mishnah Torah. There's a separate din, a big Kohen Gadol or whatever, that it should be only l'shem mitzvah, not l'shem gedula. The Ram doesn't call it any place. But he uses the Sefer to prove there's a mitzvah. Now, furthermore, the Ram adds another line in what Ki'ilu is an explanation of the Sefer. We don't understand how it is. Vuhu sheyilbash elu begadim tomid b'mikdash. So there's an obligation. Vuhu, I don't know vuhu. So tonight we said before, I don't know what's vuhu. That the Kohen Gadol is supposed to wear the bigadi, the big Kohen Gadol, all the time in the mikdash. So we have no clue what the relationship between wearing the begadim all the time in the mikdash to the fact that the Kohen Gadol has to mechaven l'shem mitzvah levad on the when he's wearing the begadim. We don't know what the two things have to do with each other. You know, why is the Ram tack this? It's a very nice thing. You know, maybe there is a thing that the Kohen Gadol should wear all the time, the begadim, maybe not. But wasn't doing the Sefer. Next, the one could have claimed that the raya is only on big Kohen Gadol, because the Kohen Gadol has a mitzvah to wear it the whole day. But maybe the Kohen Hedyot, his levisha is only hechsha avoda, and maybe there's no mitzvah. So it didn't avoid it like the Bahag. And the only raya of the mitzvah is only by Kohen Gadol. Don't understand that either. Next. So, Pashas is, when you learn the Parsha Miluyim, the conclusion that one should have, or the approach that one should take, is that the Torah is telling you the story of how they did chinuch kohanim. It's a sipur dvom ba'alma of how and you could have said that the sipur dvom ba'alma to tell us how Aaron did it. Rak l'kayim gzeres HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But we learn out over here even more that that's the mitzvah, that the kohen has to wear it l'shem mitzvah, and the day is also like that. That's why it's difficult. Ram doesn't quote it, but it's come out over here. And that's see. The question is, what is this chiddush? Is fakert the mitzvah of Levishas Kohen Gadol l'chov l'siferes is the chov l'siferes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the chov l'siferes of the mikdash HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but it's not his own chov l'siferes, because then that's the words mean. It's complete change in what the chefs of the mitzvah is. It's a chov l'siferes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that's the Rambam in the Buchim. I don't know if I mentioned this before. I mentioned it. The Ram Chilek Gimel Perek Mem Hey HaMitzvah Asher Kol Oisom HaKlal Asiri Heim Asher Sifalnum, that I wrote them in Hilchos Beis HaBechira and Hilchos Klei HaMikdash Mo'ibnim Boy. Hilchos Beis HaMikdash וכולי, ומכלל הדבורים הם מביאים להגדיל המקדוש ולפוערוי עד שיגיע לנו יראה מהם. That's one. וכולי, וציוו להלביש הכהנים בגדים נועים ומלבושים יפים וטובים בגדי קודש לחובה לספורס. So the Chay is also going on mikdash. So that's good for the mitzvah. The Gedula is changing it because the Chomer Sefer is the Chomer Sefer the mikdash. And if he wears it, it's not a din mitzvahs in general, I would assume. If he wears it, l'shem Gedulas Atzmai, it's a complete change in the mitzvah. Okay. Good Beseder. Now, further. Now, this line again, V'hu sheyilbash elu begodim tomim mikdosh. So l'chayr is an inyan miyuchad that the Kohen Gadol should wear the bigdei kehuna gedola the whole day. And if you work with this, and if it's only Hechsha Avodah, there's no mokum that the Kohen Gadol should have to wear it the whole day in the Mikdash. So there's another raya that there's a mitzvah over here, and maybe that's why the Ram is quoting it with the question that Vuhu Shiyilbash Elu Begodim Tomei B'Mikdash. Because see, there's a mitzvah in Levisha. So there's another raya that's a mitzvah min aminyan. It's a mitzvah min aminyan. Now, the Ram in Hilchos Klayim, Perek Yud, Halacha Lamed Beis, writes the following. Kohanim shelobshu bigdei kehuna, shelo b'shas avoda, afilu b'mikdash, loikin mipnei ha'avnei shu klayim, v'lo hutru boy el b'shas avoda, shehi mitzasei kitzitzis. And here we're talking about Kohen Hedyot. And the Avnei shel Kohen Hedyot, he was shatnez. But the Kohen Gadol, wears other begodim, and let's assume that the shatnez. So if you take that assumption that the shatnez and he wears the shaloi b'shas avoda, is a ra'id doch there's a kiyum mitzvah. The Ram Hilchos Klei HaMikdash ve'oivdim boy. Also the Kohen Hedyot leloivshoi el b'shas avoda. Ein HaKohen loivshim la'avoda elo tzeme upishtim bilvad. Because the Kohen Hedyot only wears b'shas avoda, but the Kohen Gadol can wear it besides, not shas avoda. Then the purpose of says Ein HaKohen Hedyot is to mamay Kohen Gadol. Choose loivish afilu shloi b'shas avoda. And that's the Ram saying over here. Vuhu shiyubash elu begodim tamid b'mikdash even shloi b'shas avoda. And means again that the kiyum levisha shloi b'shas avoda is only in Kohen Gadol, not in Kohen Hedyot. So I'm not getting involved in this. The Beis HaLevi has a discussion about a separate inyan to wear the begotten because of which it sits. That's Shalat Shuvas Beis HaLevi, Chelik Aleph, Siman Gimel. The Rambam in the Vuchim is also mashma that the reason why Kohen Gadol is different is because of the tzitz. The Rambam Chelik Gimel, Perek Mem Zayin, Ulereiv Hatzerich Lios Kohen Gadol v'Mikdash Tamid Li'amu v'Hoy Al Mitzchay Tamid. So it seems the whole reason that he's there is because of tzitz. And the emes is there's a Havamim in the Sefer that the Kohen Gadol wears that sits in the Knisa Lefnai Lefnim Yom Kippurim. Sefer in Achrei Mois, Pasha Aleph, Tchilas Perek Aleph, Halacha Tes, B'toich Shenema B'tzitz V'hoy al Mitzchay Tamid. L'rotzer Lifnei Hashem, Yochli Konis Bo Lifnai V'Lifnim, Tam Aloymo, Gad V'loy B'tzitz. But l'cheira, what's going on here in Sefer Mitzvah is not that. It is the Hakim Levisha, otherwise no reason to talk about it. It's not that sits as a Hakim Levisha Bigdi Kuna. Bigdi Kuna G'dayla. Who Shiur Bash Eila B'Godim Tamid. So according to the Beis HaLevi, the way you wear the Shmona Begodim for the Kiyum, because you want to wear the tzitz. According to the Sefer. Yeah, but if according to the Rambam here, the Levisha of the Begodim, of the big Kohen Gadol, because the Kiyum of the Begodim itself, not because of tzitz. So the you have the Beis HaLevi, and what it seems to more in the Vuchim, and the Ram over here, together with the Sefer, that the Kiyum Levisha, the big Kohen Gadol all the time, not just the Hechatim that have the tzitz. So l'cheira, he starts off that the mitzvah is Levisha's big de kahuna for avodah, but that's only for kohen hedi. Remember the lashon over here. He says, "Lubosh she'siviru hakohanim lubosh begadim yuchadim l'chov l'sifos v'oz yavdu b'mikdash." But l'chei, that's only in kohen hedi. But in kohen gadol, the mitzvah is Levisha's big dekuna gdoila, completely independent of avodah. Say that. That's what we have. Faiz boy mishplei mitzvah zo, kulam b'sheni bizvochim u'mekoymois meseches kippurim v'sukkah. Okay, but say that. Now, go on. Let's get started here. The mitzvah of Shemen HaMishcha. I hope the next we see us all. HaMitzvah HaChomesh U'Shloishim. V'ish etzivonu sheyihyeh lanu shemen osui al hamaskoines hamiyuchedes. It's we should have a shemen which is made with a special recipe. Al hamaskoines hamiyuchedes. Muchan, it should be ready. Limshoich boy kol kohen gadol sheyismaneh. Como she'omar v'kohen hagadol me'echov asher yutzak al goyshay shemen ha'mishcha. V'chein yimshichu boi ksas malachim כמו שיסבויה, בדין מצווה זו. כבר נמשך בוי, המשכן וכל כליו, ולמשכו כל הכלים לדורס. ביום בספרי, משיחים של אלו, אצל אימה, כלי המשכן, הוקדשו כל הכלים, לא עשו לו בוי. ומיסה לשם משחס קודש, יהי זה לי לדורסכם. Okay. Let's go slowly. Shiur, that's an Ibn Tibin Eov, and Kappa Shiur. But the Hebrew, I mean, it was the original Arabic, so the original Arabic is Yikom. And the Targum is Yihiyah. And it's a verb. And it's not like Bikon. Here there clearly is a verb. It's not like the mitzvah mishmoris, where there's no verb. It's just a state of. The mitzvah is that there should be such a thing. That something should be done. Okay. When it says over here, call Kohen Gadol, the Rambam wants to stress that every Kohen Gadol requires Mashiach. Even if the father had Mashiach, the Kohen Gadol also requires Mashiach. Now, but he says when it comes to Malachim, he says Ksas HaMalachim. Because you don't do a Mashiach Melech Ben Melech, only Pnei Machlokes. As the Gemara says in Krisus, on Hey Omid Beis, Ein Moishchin Melech Ben Melech, Ubi, right? And so that's the din. You don't do Melech Ben Melech. Ubi Hilchos Klei HaMikdash, in Perik Aleph, Halacha Yud Aleph, Ve'ein Moishchin Melech Ben Melech, Shamalchus Yerusha LeMelech L'Olam, Shnemu Hu Uvona B'Kerev Yisrael. Ve'im Hoyes Shom Machlekes Moishchin Oisai, Kelesalek Machlekes. Uloidia Lakol Shezehu Melech Levadoi, Kmo Shemoshchu Shloimoi, Mibnei Machlekes Adoniyahu, V'yoish Mibnei Asalia, V'yochaz Mibnei Yoyakim Ochiv. But this is the difference. Every Kohen Gadol requires it. Melech is only the first Melech requires it to set up the dynasty. Okay, so here we're going to point out. That the Rambam has different approaches to what this mitzvah is in the Shroshim and Cheres Yud. Here in Minyan HaMitzvos, in Minyan Mitzvah Kotze, and in Mishnah Torah. And we'll go to each one at a time to start out. Here, the mitzvah is shetzivonu shi'eh lonu shemen osui ala maskoines hamiyuchedes. So it's just that the shemen should exist. And you learn it from the Pasuk. Yiyezeli l'dorisechem. It should exist. That's what it's Hashem. It says Yiyezeli l'dorisechem. So the question is, what does he want with Muchan Limshoyach boy Kol Kohen Godol Sheyismane Kmo Sheomar V'Kohen HaGodol Me'echov Asher Yutzak Al Roshei Shemen HaMishcha V'chein Yimshchu Bo Ksas Malachim V'chulei V'chulei, which is by the mitzvah. So, the question is, he's saying that the Mashiach is Muchon Limshoyach. He's just saying, what's the purpose of Yiyeh? The Yiyeh that should be, the Yiyeh is that it should be able to be used for what it's normally used for. But maybe and you could assume, probably, that the Mashiach is not part of the mitzvah. Some achronim, and we will get to it, assume that that the Mashiach is part of the mitzvah. The question is, what's what I'm saying over here? He's telling you, what's the purpose of Yiyeh? Or the Mashiach is also part of the mitzvah. In Sheresh Asiri, the side of Sheresh Asiri is that you don't count introductions to the mitzvah. Or maybe he's talking about the Hechsher mitzvahs, whatever. He says, V'chein tachli tachel cho b'samim roish lo yimone. V'omnom yimone hatzivu shetzivonu shenimshach kohanim gedolim u'melachim u'kli HaKodesh b'shemen המשחה metuah. So the mitzvah is the Mashiach, not the making of the shemen, or the gathering of the spice to make it. So it's very clear in Sheresh Yud, the 10th Sheresh, that the mitzvah is the Mashiach. Here, the mitzvah seems to be that the shemen should be kayim. The discussion about shemen, about the Meshichas HaKelim, it seems to be the but that's not probably what he means, I assume. But that's in Sheresh Yud. That's not the gate to us. Mina mitzvah kotzer. The mitzvah is the Ma'aseh Mashiach. Mir mitzvah kotzer ein lamed hey lמשוח כהנים גדולים ומלכים בשמן המשחה שנאמר שמן משחס קודש יהיה זה. Shem mishcha yeh zeh, it means that the year you should use the shemen, I guess. L'mshoich k'mitzvosei. According to the Rambam Mishneh Torah, there's a whole new pshat. Because in the Shuashim, you would assume that making it is nothing to do with the mitzvah. And here, in Kilchos Klei HaMikdash, the Rambam, Perek Avolochav, mitzvah say, Lasa Shemen HaMishcha, Shiyeh Muchon, L'dvorim HaTzitzrichim. Mashiach boy. Shenem v'sisa oisei shem mishchas kodesh. So the mitzvah is to make it. And l'chayra, it's diametrically opposed to Shirish Asiri, where the mitzvah is the Mashiach, not the things before it. Okay. So one of the things you can think about is how, since the pasuk doesn't say that there's a tzivui for Mashiach on the Shemen HaMishcha, how do we know that there's a mitzvah? So l'chveri is we're learning out from the Ram quotes upon Hashem and the Kohen Gadol Asher Yutzak Al Goyish Shemen HaMishcha, that if it says that you should have it, so that mashmos of the Torah is that you should do the Mashiach. Mit Hashem, we'll pick this up next time. I assume that you should have a kapara and Yom Kippur, and I guess Sukkot, depending on what you're not. We should be zeicher to dance in Simchas Beis HaShoeva in the Beis HaMikdash.
Amen.